At this moment, you are surrounded by warmth, so completely that you may not even recognize it as protection. Somewhere nearby, a thermostat watches the temperature, and when the air falls below the number you selected, a furnace wakes before your body has time to protest. You move from a warm room into a warm vehicle, then into another heated building, and your harshest contact with winter may last only a few seconds between doors. To you, winter is often an annoyance. Frost on glass, thicker clothes, slippery roads. But for most of human existence, winter was not an inconvenience. It was a coordinated attack on survival. Cold drained heat from the body. Hunger emptied the land. Predators competed for shrinking food. And darkness pressed people into cramped shelters for night after night. Every danger could kill, and they often arrived together. Yet generation after generation, humans entered frozen landscapes, settled them, raised children in them. They succeeded because the human mind learned to build a second body around itself, made from flame, fur, bone, shelter, stored food, tools, memory, and cooperation. Start with the cold, because physically, humans are poorly prepared for it. Our species developed in warm African environments. We have no dense fur, no thick natural insulation, no protected paws. An uncovered person in severe cold loses heat quickly, hands stiffen, judgment weakens, speech slows, balance fails. And when the temperature deep inside the body falls too far, the heart and brain can no longer work properly. By anatomy alone, humans should have remained creatures of warm climates. Instead, they pushed into Ice Age Europe, across northern Asia, and into regions where exposed skin could freeze within minutes. Fire was the first great defense, but it had limits. It warmed a camp, not a journey. It heated the side facing the flame, while the back stayed cold. It could not follow a hunter across open ground. To live beyond the firelight, people needed portable insulation, and that required more than throwing a hide over the shoulders. A loose skin offers partial cover, but wind enters from below, from the sides, and around the arms. It shifts while walking, opens while bending, and wastes body heat. The breakthrough came when people shaped hides around the body, cutting pieces, joining edges, closing gaps, fitting sleeves, protecting legs, and trapping still air near the skin. A fitted garment became a shelter that moved, and the tool that made it possible was astonishingly small: the eyed needle. A maker had to choose a narrow piece of bone, scrape and polish it, sharpen one end, then create a tiny opening for thread without splitting the tool. Archaeologists have recovered carefully made bone needles more than 40,000 years old, evidence that prehistoric clothing was skilled engineering. Thread could be produced from sinew, the strong fibers connecting muscle and bone, dried, separated, and twisted into durable strands. With hide sinew and a needle, people could make layered clothing that remained closed during movement. Fur turned inward held warm air near the body. Outer layers blocked wind and snow. Clothing was not decoration. It was life support. Without fitted garments, much of the frozen north would have remained closed to our species. But surviving daylight solved only part of the problem. When the sun vanished, temperatures fell further, and people needed somewhere heat could remain concentrated through the night. Caves were useful when available. They blocked snow, reduced wind, and kept a steadier temperature than open ground. Yet good caves were uncommon. A population depending entirely on caves could never spread far. So humans learned to manufacture protection wherever the landscape offered material. One powerful example comes from Mazyrik in present-day Ukraine, where people about 15,000 years ago built circular shelters using mammoth bones. The surrounding steppe offered little timber, so enormous bones became the framework. Skulls, jaws, long bones, and tusks formed curved walls and supported a domed covering. These were not careless piles made for one evening. They were planned dwellings, requiring transport, teamwork, and construction knowledge. The frame alone was not enough, because every opening allowed wind to steal heat. Hides could be stretched across the structure, tied into position, and layered over weak points. Sod could be packed outside, while snow itself became insulation. Snow feels cold against bare skin, but a thick, unmoving layer holds pockets of trapped air, slowing the movement of heat. Inside, floors were covered with plants, hides, and bedding that separated sleepers from frozen ground. Evidence from South Africa shows humans arranging layers of grass and leaves as bedding around 77,000 years ago. The principle was already clear. Survival depended on controlling every route through which warmth escaped: roof, floor, doorway, cracks, and wind direction. A well-made shelter became an environmental machine, simple in material, sophisticated in purpose. Yet warmth created another demand: fuel. A winter fire consumed wood, brush, bone, dung, or anything that burned, and supplies had to be gathered repeatedly. Staying near shelter reduced mobility, which meant food could not be found casually each day. Much of it had to be secured before the worst weather arrived. Hunger was often the most relentless danger. During winter, plants stop growing, berries vanish. Frozen soil resists digging, herds migrate, small animals hide, and surviving game grows lean. The land that seemed generous in summer becomes nearly silent. Ancient groups had to think months ahead, watching timing hunts, gathering plants at their peak, and converting temporary abundance into food that remained edible when nothing fresh could be found. Drying was one solution. Meat cut into thin strips lost moisture in sun or gentle smoke. Without moisture, decay slowed. Smoke offered further preservation. While discouraging insects, autumn racks filled with drying meat were stored time. Labor from one season carried into another. Cold offered another method. Frozen ground worked like a natural storage chamber. A pit dug into permanently cold soil could preserve meat from a large kill. Winter became both threat and tool. The same temperature that endangered people protected their supplies. But protein alone could not meet every need. In severe cold, the body burns enormous energy, simply maintaining temperature. Very lean meat may fill the stomach without providing enough calories. Fat was precious. Marrow, organ fat, and thick deposits around healthy animals could determine whether a group stayed strong or slowly weakened. Fat could be rendered into tallow, stored, carried, and combined with dried meat to create compact food rich in energy. In the deepest winter, fat was not indulgence. It was survival measured in calories. Even after people controlled cold, shelter, and hunger, one danger remained: the mental weight of darkness. In northern winters, usable daylight may shrink to only a few hours. Travel becomes dangerous. Hunting time narrows, storms trap families indoors, and the same faces share the same small space through long nights. Confinement can create tension, fear, boredom, grief, and despair, especially when food stores are uncertain. Ancient people answered that pressure by giving darkness a purpose. Firelight turned the shelter into a workshop. Broken tools were repaired, stone points sharpened, spear shafts straightened, clothing stitched, cords twisted, hides scraped, and equipment for the coming season prepared. The night also became a classroom. Older people passed on roots, animal behavior, weather signs, medicinal knowledge, dangers, memories, and stories. Children learned not from written manuals, but from repeated voices near the flame. Songs preserved rhythm and belonging. Myths carried explanations. And shared stories reminded frightened people that their group had survived winters before. Culture was not separate from survival. It kept people organized, cooperative, hopeful, and mentally alive. Winter gatherings strengthened language, teaching, planning, identity, and the ability to imagine a future beyond the storm. Seen together, these adaptations reveal something larger. Humans did not merely withstand winter. Winter helped shape human capability. Cold encouraged fitted clothing. Limited caves encouraged constructed homes. Seasonal hunger encouraged preservation and storage. Long nights encouraged indoor work and the transfer of knowledge. The inventions created for survival later supported migration, settlement, exploration, and life in nearly every climate on Earth. The season that exposed human weakness rewarded preparation, precision, cooperation, and imagination. Your ancestors faced 4 connected weapons: freezing air, exposure, vanishing food, and consuming darkness. They answered cold with fire and clothing, exposure with engineered shelters, hunger with drying, freezing, rendering, and storage, darkness with work, teaching, story, and community. None of those victories was guaranteed. A torn garment, failed hunt, wet fuel, damaged roof, illness, or one badly judged storm could destroy months of preparation. Survival had to be earned again each year through knowledge, discipline, cooperation, and stubborn endurance. Now compare that world with the room around you. Warmth arrives when you turn a control. Food from distant climates waits behind a door. Electric light shortens the night. Sealed walls hold back wind. And winter often reaches you only as a forecast on a screen. You no longer greet the first snow by counting dried meat, checking every seam, and wondering whether enough fuel remains to reach spring. Winter did not become harmless. Human beings built layers of protection between its dangers and your daily life. Those layers were created slowly, across tens of thousands of years, by people who froze, experimented, failed, remembered, taught, improved, and tried again. One needle, one shelter, one fire, one food cache, and one story at a time. Their struggle became your ordinary comfort, and the fact that you barely notice winter may be the clearest proof of how completely they learned to survive it.